Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Julie Nelson. A state assistant commissioner fired, a fiery Capitol hearing, and an executive order from the governor to fight fraud all fall out today in the wake of a KARE 11 investigation. AJ Legault leads off our team coverage with the latest developments in Housing Hustle, a Recovery Inc. investigation.
This has gone on for far too long.
In the shadow of the Capitol Dome, Rachel Lean deciding to step into the light.
I think it's time to tell my story and let other people know that it's okay to come out and tell their story too.
She first told her story earlier this year to KARE 11, a story of being exploited by housing stabilization providers who falsified records and billed her Medicaid. But she stayed in the shadows, fearing her safety.
How would you describe that $14,000 that was billed to your Medicaid?
Fraud on every level.
Today, she's at the Capitol to testify publicly as the House Fraud Committee examines how the Housing Stabilization, or HSS program that was supposed to help homeless people find housing went so wrong.
I think I speak for everyone in the recovery community when I say that we are sick and tired of the rampant fraud and people getting rich off the backs of our addiction.
She called out the Department of Human Services for ignoring her until after KARE 11 told her story.
Within days of my story airing in May, a senior investigator finally called me back. I can't help but think that if I had not contacted KARE 11, would we even be here today discussing this?
The fraud hearing filled with fireworks. A surprise announcement that DHS had just terminated Eric Grumdahl, the assistant commissioner in charge of the HSS program.
I get a call at 7:30 and the department announces they fired the person responsible for housing stabilization services and homelessness.
DHS's new Inspector General, James Clark, took center stage, revealing the fraud has reached new depths.
We're seeing webs or rings of connected providers that are working together to commit fraud. I've also seen businesses committing fraud that have tentacles throughout the Medicaid program.
115 HSS companies have been terminated from billing Medicaid while investigations play out. Today, we learned those 115 companies combined billed taxpayers more than $100 million.
We have a provider vetting problem. We need to make it much, much harder for fly-by-night, unqualified providers to gain access to our programs.
As for Rachel,
my hope is that by doing this, others will tell their stories and real change will be made so something like this never happens again.
Today, her story was heard.
Thank you, Ms. Lean.
Thank you.
You raising your voice and speaking out is making huge changes throughout state government, and we really appreciate it.
Rachel certainly was a powerful voice in helping expose how our state has been ransacked by fraud. DHS leadership said due to state law, they could not comment on exactly why Assistant Commissioner Grumdahl was terminated. We've tried reaching out to him directly, but have yet to get a response, Julie.
The timing on several of these things is interesting, to say the least. I think we all see that story and we hear about these webs of people that were defrauding taxpayers and defrauding all of us. And we want to know, is anybody going to pay for it, the people who are actually defrauding the state?
Yeah, as we said earlier, certainly I think the eyes of the state are now going to go from the State House to the courthouse. We know a federal grand jury was meeting last week, so that tells us that indictments are probably imminent here.
All right. Thank you, AJ.
Yeah.
Well, Governor Walz also issued an executive order today concerning fraud. Danny Spiewak joins us now live with what that will look like and how both sides are reacting to it. Danny?
Well, Julie, Governor Walz's executive order issued this morning includes a long list of items on combating fraud. That's everything from directing DHS to increase public transparency around the fraud prevention efforts that they're already doing, to also directing the agency to strengthen its review process using more data to potentially find those high-risk providers who they believe could be committing fraud and terminate those providers from billing Medicaid if needed. But perhaps the most significant item in this executive order is the creation of a statewide Office of Inspector General Coordinating Council, bringing together inspectors general from different agencies to meet monthly and share information. This council would not have the same power as an actual statewide OIG. That's something the legislature would have to approve. Republican Senator Michael Kroon and DFL Senator Heather Gustafson helped pass that bill for a statewide OIG in the Senate last year, but it didn't advance in the House due to concerns about cost and structure from House DFL leadership.
I'm glad the governor is finally maybe seeing the seriousness of the magnitude of the fraud we're seeing here in Minnesota. But it doesn't alleviate the fact that we need to pass our our bill establishing a statewide independent Office of Inspector General.
Any step forward to get this passed is what I'm thankful for.
An important element of the story that we should point out is, of course, there are always politics involved in every issue. Governor Walz announcing this week that he's launching his re-election campaign for a third term. He issued this executive order shortly before the House Oversight Committee hearing with DHS started. That committee is led by Republican Representative Kristen Robbins. She is seeking the GOP nomination for governor in 2026. So just something to keep in mind. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Danny.